Hi everyone, I'm Huub Hildenbrand. Thanks for tuning into my channel, Huub Hildenbrand Guitar Academia. Today we have lesson 4 of tonal harmony, and in this lesson we will discuss the major and the minor thirds, and whether they are really something completely different or not. This is a very important thing for all other stuff, what comes later actually. So let's get right into the endless ocean of music. For this lesson there's also a PDF file you can download. Just go down in the description and click on the link. Alright, so what we are doing now, we go up the harmonic series. We go up and we reach on the with the fifth partial we reach the major third. So the major third gives us a new tone, of course, because before we just had E and B, and so we had E, B, E, and then we skipped the fifth partial, we went directly to the sixth, which is again a B. And we skipped the fifths, but the fifths after E, E, B, E, after these notes, it gives us a new note, the G sharp. And this note is still very present in the vibrating string itself. Remember we talked about harmonics. If you didn't check out these lessons, please go back to them. We had 2 lessons, harmonic series 1 and 2. There we really talked into detail about this topic. So the major third really is still a low partial, and this major third is really taking part in the sound, in the timbre of the string. And sometimes this really interferes also when we want to play a minor chord, and suddenly this major third sticks out because it's a harmonic, and sometimes certain harmonics are a bit louder, and so it can happen that this really is a very disturbing thing actually. So it's really there, and it plays really a role, and it took, of course, it took in the development of the European harmony from medieval Renaissance to Baroque. It took quite a while to appreciate this sound. Before, in the Renaissance period, in the earlier Renaissance or medieval music, there were really these fifths, maybe fourths and octaves. We had this organum style where we just went in parallel fifths or octaves or fourths or both, and it really took a while for the ear to appreciate the sound of a third, and harmonically, especially harmonic. We were talking about the building harmonies, of course, and so what's also very important, we also talked about the gravitation forces, the gravitational power that the root, the first partial, actually has in relation to the other notes. So if we have a B and an E, this B really confirms the E as a tonic, as a home bass. Yeah, you hear it as a sort of a resolution. If we go higher to BE, we still have this resolution from B to E as a perfect fourth. So this time the upper note is a resolution. And now this fifth partial, the major third, has also a gravitational pull, you can say. This major third is also in a way confirming the root. So if we go from partial 5 to partial 4, which is the octave of the root, then this major third really also confirms the root. So the gravitation is still there. In a way, it's getting less and less and less when you go up the partial scale, the harmonic scale. The gravitational pull gets less and less and less. But here with the major third, it's really quite obvious, I think. So if you play this this major third, we can really hear that E is home base, whereas G sharp is somewhere in the air. It's not really on the ground, you can say, and it really settles when the G sharp is going to the E. So G sharp, E. If we go higher from the fifth partial to the sixth partial, which we already discussed, we have the interval of a minor third. And this minor third, in this context, is not really having such a gravitational pull or this kind of a power, you can say. In this context, actually, it sounds a bit that we miss our root, that we have a kind of a major triad, and we miss the root. So if I play this, in a way, my ear wants to go to E. And this is not only, it doesn't only have to do has to do with our that we are so used to these triads and to the major triad and whatever. It also has to do with these combination tones. I hope this is the right term, actually. Paul Hindemith, he introduced this term. I mean, through his books. I never met him, but this is quite an interesting thing, because it's like our difference tones also. Maybe I have to check out later what the English word is. It means that the difference of frequency between these two notes, the difference of frequency is actually sounding as a lower tone in this case. So if we have this frequency, and so a lower tone which is actually equals the difference between these two frequencies is also sounding. And the difference between these two frequencies is 83 Hertz. You may wonder why I know this. It's actually very simple. We started with E, and this I know has 83 Hertz. And these 83 Hertz, they're just doubled if I divide the string lengths. The second partial is double the frequency of the first partial. The third partial is triple the frequency of the first partial, and the fourth partial is quadruple the frequency of the first partial. So it always adds 83 hertz. So the difference between all of two adjacent partials is always 83 hertz. So actually, if I play any of two adjacent partials, I will create this low fundamental, this low partial one, actually. Sometimes you can also hear these notes, these combination notes, or the differential notes. I don't know how to call them. Sorry. Sometimes you can hear them very, very clear. Sometimes they're really like really low sounding, and you wonder what happens actually. It's quite interesting. So actually, maybe I can show you this. I mean, if I play like this major third, let's play it here with this. My intonation is really like the harmonic series, and please go back to this lesson about the harmonic series, because the notes of the harmonic series mostly do not really match our equal temperament of 12 tones. So I adjust here a bit. I make the B a bit higher so that I have actually a bit larger minor third here, and you hear this note sounding. Kind of very hidden way. Maybe try it for yourself at home. Play this minor third, G sharp B here, and then make the B, by bending it, a bit higher till these two tones are really melting together, and then suddenly this low E is sounding. And especially if you have a distortion, if you have a distorted sound, if you put a lot of distortion in, you really have this you can really hear this very strong. Actually, it's quite strange in a way. So let's come back after this small excursion. So I just explained you why these two notes, why a minor third, sounding minor third, is actually a bit implying a different root. So if you play this root together, it's very obvious, of course, because this is a major triad, a complete major triad. But still, if you have any minor third, if you play for example, this minor third, in a way you hear this as a root. I mean, if you just play this minor third and really meditate on the sound, then you feel it, in a way, it wants to resolve to this root. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to do it. I mean, these lessons are very frequently, they are also about listening and to understand certain things in music, certain intervals, like more maybe in a more isolated and pure way. There we can really hear the very subtle and finer things, the finer gravitation powers, or the finer nuance, what is actually happening. And this really just is not possible if we are in the middle of a song and we have all these chords and melodies. we will not hear it. We will, of course, a minor third. It can be anything, you know. It can be just a minor third, or it can be the distance from a minor seventh to a flat nine in a dominant chord, or whatever. But really, if we just isolate this sound and this minor third, and we really listen very deeply to it, we tend to come to the conclusion that the root is another tone. So the resolution is another note. Also quite interesting, actually. But as I explained here, this just has to do with the harmonic series, and since our music is also based on the harmonic series, also the cultural environment of the music we always hear all the time is also always creating this surrounding that a minor third, just a minor third, tends to be a part of a major triad, the third and the fifth. Okay, anyway, so the gravitational pull here between partial 5 and 6 is actually quite weak, you can say. And it's also an interval between two notes which are both not the partial one, the root, the fundamental of the harmonic series. So this really is not giving us too much information actually about tonality. Whereas of course the fifth to the fourth partial, this is a very clear gravitation, I think. The na, da, so the G sharp wants to resolve to the E, and then it's home, it's settled. Okay, but the thing here, and this will be very important for later lessons also. This is also a kind of a conception, or I see it like that actually the minor third and the major third are just two variants of the same thing here. And I got that idea out of a book from Paul Hindemith, who really wrote some great books. Also, beside he's a famous composer, of course. And this book is called the Craft of Composition. I think that's the English title. The German title is Unterweisung im Tonsatz. And there he writes about all these gravitation forces and the harmonic power of certain intervals and the melodic power of the other intervals, and he derives also the different 12 tones with a kind of longer process out of the overtone series, harmonic series. It's quite interesting, this approach, and I really think he is absolutely right by not finding like a kind of a different theory for a minor third in comparison to a major third. It's really like if you have a minor third, the G, and you go higher, third, you do not really know, you don't have a clear line that separates these both. they are really, it just progresses slowly from a minor third till a bigger minor third till a third which is really in between, and to also it depends on context. You know, sometimes you can play a very low major third. When you show it always a minor third, then suddenly this sounds major in a way. So we see in this course here, we see this major and minor thirds as just two variations of the same thing. And this is also quite evident when you compare the music of different cultures. Actually, you find so many variations of these thirds, and also, of course, the name makes it also in a way very clear or obvious that we have perfect intervals and they have just one intonation. You can say it's always this kind of a cent distance, and there is almost no possibility of changing them a bit. Then they immediately sound out of tune. But with these major and minor intervals, you don't have the perfect major third or the perfect minor third or something in between what is perfect. No, it's a range. These two intervals are just two sides of many possibilities in between. So, for example, in Turkish music, you have a major third which is like our major third in our music. So we have just the E and the G sharp, maybe a bit higher in Turkish music. That's not so frequently used, this here. But we have it in that music. It's like, in this case, it's 18 comma. Then we have our regular major third. Then we have our major third as it appears in the harmonic series. So we have, let's play like this. So it really melts together. Always. When you play intervals which you find in the harmonic series, they always melt together beautifully. And this is a kind of a reference for all like for good intonation, even in Western European classical music, a string quartet or a choir. They do their intonation, if they're really good, they change it a bit to the harmonic series, and then it sounds really beautiful. And also with these combination tones, I go too far maybe now, but I just follow my train of thoughts. And with these combination tones, also a children's choir. There's this Knabenchor. I don't know how it's called in English. If like young boys make up a choir, and they sing these beautiful high voices all together, and they're just only these high voices. It still can have a very great bass actually, because if they melt together in this harmonic series intervals, they create this combination tones, and these are just very low register notes. So it gets a really full sound, this choir. It's very interesting. But also in Turkish music, you have, like in Rust, for example, in this makam, you have a lower major third. Sega in Turkish music. So this is actually a bit higher version of the minor third. Then you can have just the minor third in our music. Or we can have a lower minor third, also in Turkish music. It's like the 13th comma, so it's also a very beautiful sound. Together with a bit higher major second, this Buselik or Kurdi. I mean, we have a lower minor third, we have a higher minor third, we have a very low major third, we have the major third of the harmonic series or of our system, and we have a bit higher major third in the Turkish music also. Actually, I've heard that you have like in I think from Vietnam you have a kind of a pentatonic which has a major third, but kind of in between of major and minor. Maybe let's try this. I mean, you have, so these are the two notes. So okay, this would be kind of right in the middle of major and minor. So, and I think the pentatonic, let me see. Maybe major pentatonic. Ah, sorry, I can't play on this thing. So you have like so I think it's quite acceptable for the ear. If you hear that kind of a pentatonic, also blues comes into mind. So like blues where you also combine the major and the minor third. So this kind of this is very very common. So both. Or even so this kind of is also kind of in between of the major and minor third. Also very interestingly, you had in the Baroque period, you had very frequently you had compositions which were all the time, the whole composition was in minor, for example in E minor, but at the end the final chord was E major. So it was like I think the idea was really that the major triad is a more more like a divine or heaven or complete sound. So to end, you can't end with a minor sound. This is a bit raw or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but so if you have a minor chord, a minor song, I don't know. Let's do something. for example this. So I ended with a G sharp, and I always played, before I played always minor, G. So it seems to be that the ear accepts all these all different possibilities of major and minor thirds and everything in between. Of course, some sound more nice, and some. I mean, all of these different intonations, they all have a different atmosphere, and so the change of atmosphere of mood, you can say, is quite drastic if you go from a minor chord to a major chord. You know, it's a very, very different mood, but the function doesn't change. It's still a third. It's just a different variation of it. So, and this is true for all these major and minor intervals, for major minor sevenths, major minor sixths, and major and minor seconds. They're all just variations. And of course, also in our 12-tone equal temperament, we make already a compromise with a major third, because a major third of the harmonic series is actually lower, and it took a long time in the Baroque period, and there were a lot of fights what kind of intonation to choose, because they didn't want to get rid of these beautiful sounding just intonation major thirds. But as the music progressed, people also like Bach as a prominent figure here. They evolved the tonality more and more, and they wanted to move to distant tonalities to modulate and all that stuff. So it went more and more into the direction of having all the half tones, half steps. So all the distances in the chromatic scale all equal. I mean, it didn't happen in Bach's time, but later. Bach was still like well-tempered tuning, which is almost the tuning we have today, but not exactly. And when we hear like a major chord really in the harmonic series, where all these notes are just partials of the E. I show you this maybe. This is very close to the harmonic series, and when all these intervals fall into place in a harmonic series, they really melt together. And this I also explained to you in another lesson, but here you really hear that this is like very strong, like one vibration, one powerful sound, actually. You do not really hear the separate notes so much. They're really melting. Okay, I will play this chord now, and then I will stop the video and I will immediately play you the same chord but with our intonation, with a 12-tone equal temperament. So with a very good tuned guitar. And by hearing this directly, you will say, oh, this really sounds so bad. But if I go on with playing, of course, if we hear this kind of music, like from a piano or whatever, guitar, we get used to it. In a way, we just ignore this, and our ear tends to retune the music we hear a little bit. It has actually this capacity to do that, to listen the wrong music right. Okay, so I play you 4 times the chord with this beautiful, harmonic, perfect, pure intonation, or in just tuning also you can say. And then I stop the video and you hear directly the other intonation. This would be like really fun to do. Okay, I play this chord. You heard the difference? And actually I tune my guitar now exactly like every note I play to my tuner. So I tune the B here and the E and the G sharp, because this is also some like the intonation problems of a guitar in general will also make this chord even worse. So actually on the guitar I have to make this G string a bit higher. So if I play now this E major chord, it's not so nice. But this is the sound we are dealing with in our music, like pianos and guitars. All these instruments are tuned with this kind of a tuning. So almost everything is a bit wrong, you can say, taking the harmonic series as a reference. Okay, so you see, I mean, the difference between the major third of the harmonic series and of our 12-tone equal temperament is 14 cent. This is not nothing, you can say, and you heard it. I mean, this is the main difference of these two chords, because the fifth is just a 2 cent different. So our ear in the history at a certain point really went from this pure and beautiful sounding major third to accepting the major third we have in our system today. This is also an indicator for how actually the third really has a range. And to just say minor and major third is a kind of very rough differentiation, because in between, in all these different cultures also you have all kinds of major and minor thirds. But of course in this course, fourth lesson of tonal harmony, we don't go so much into depth and with other cultures. But still I think I think you also find this very, very helpful and interesting to see these connections to other cultures and to see our system also from a different perspective. I think this is really really enriches also our thinking and our perception of music. Okay, so the main so for like a conclusion, the thing you learned today is that all these major and minor intervals are just variations with a kind of a drastic change of mood, but without changing its function. And this is also changes the way we will see tonality, major and minor tonality later. I just want to tell you that, and then I end this lesson. That there is a kind of a what do you say? Like there are two basic approaches to major and minor tonality. One approach is that the minor tonality is just connected to the major tonality just by a minor third distance. So it's like a piece in G major equals, like the key signature equals E minor. So a piece in E minor has the same key signature, one sharp, the F sharp, and the G major is also the F sharp. So one approach is to see this connection between major and minor by that these are really connected. So E minor, when you sing E minor, you also have G major. So when you have so the whole theory is actually based that the minor tonality is relative to the major tonality. Whereas so it's a different tonic, it's a different tonal center. G major and E minor. The whole thing switched. The conclusion from this talk today is that actually minor is just a variation of major. So it's more how do you say logic. It's more logic to have G major and G minor together as a tonal tonality, major and minor tonality, and that's called parallel. It's a parallel major, parallel minor. So the root stays because it's just changing the third, and the third is just two variations, major or minor. And also all these other functions like subdominant, dominant, they are present, and they play the same kind of a role, the same kind of functions as in major or in minor. It's the same thing. So that's also why a minor piece in the Baroque period could end in major, and also in major nowadays you can use or borrow chords from the parallel, so the same root, minor tonality, like a subdominant minor is very common, for example. So this is like these are really like two basic, really different concepts, you can say. So are major and minor with the same root are more close, more connected, or is G major and E minor more connected in a way? And for myself, for my approach, I tend to have the root the same and just change color in a way. So we have the minor and major color, and we just take them as variations of the same thing. So we don't change the tonality by shifting the tonal center to another note. This is like far a big step. So the whole tonality changed. And of course, like, you can very easily go from G major to E minor and vice versa, because you have the same key signature. Most of the chords are the same. But this is like a modulation then to another key. And with major and minor having the same root, like G major and G minor, you don't change the tonal center. The tonal center stays. It's like in Indian music. You have all these scales, minor, major, and whatever, but the sa, the center of all the scales, is always the same. If you play sitar, it may be a C sharp for your lifetime, or you play sarod, it may be a C. So I hope you got the message, and you will now be very clear about this major and minor third thing. Okay, I hope you liked the lesson. If so, please subscribe to my channel, and also you can support me. You can donate to support this whole channel, that I go on with this stuff. There are a lot of topics to cover. So you can go to my website, guitar-academia.com. There you find a button. There you can donate. Please do so. It would make me very happy. Okay, thanks for watching. My name is Hildenbrand.